Okay, today, in my opinion, we are about to dive into one of the most interesting videos I have ever produced on the channel in its history. Why? Because today we are once again taking a look at Titanfall, Apex Legends, hackers, and conspiracies. Here's a bit of context for anyone new to the story. Titanfall 1, for intermittent periods of time dating as far back as 2018, I believe, has been completely incapacitated by a sophisticated bot network that effectively renders the game unplayable. It works in a few separate ways, but due to security vulnerabilities in the Titanfall infrastructure, bots can crash every single server in the entire game by overloading the framework with information as they join matches. One such method involves a long string of characters being used as the bot's in-game name, which then causes the entire server to crash as the characters are translated and processed. It's a series of unfortunate exploits, and it's not just one or two, it's many. Titanfall is built upon what can only be described, at least for someone as unfamiliar as me, as a termite-ridden foundation, and a larger than expected number of parties are fully aware of this. Enter John Yu. John Yu is Titanfall's Kaiser Soze, if you will. Few people know who he is, and fewer still know exactly what he does. Every time an in-game hacker appears, it was John Yu. Every time someone gets DDoSed, it was John Yu. Every time a hack is executed or servers go offline or anything at all happens really in the Titanfall world, it was John Yu. And in truth, I probably had a pretty big role in creating that kind of persona. One of my original videos, titled The Hacker Destroying a Franchise, has over 800,000 views. I largely stand by what I said in that video, but it appears there may have been quite a bit more to the story. So today, I want to tell that story. Most of what I will discuss comes from a community-sourced document created by the administration for SaveTitanfall.com, which contains hundreds of Discord screenshots, countless hours of work, and a comprehensive overview of exactly who, what, when, where, and why Apex Legends was hacked on July 4th, as well as why Titanfall 2 streamers routinely encountered targeted DOS attacks on their live streams, and even Eurogamer, a gaming media publication, being fed false quotes by someone working with the hackers in order to push their own internal agenda, and Eurogamer printed it. That's not to say that Eurogamer is necessarily at fault here, because they aren't. I myself have actually been in contact with some of the guilty parties since the very beginning, and I had no idea. They've spun a complex web of deception which is designed, ultimately, to benefit their own ends. And through that communication, I'm able to cross-reference more of the information I was recently given, and hopefully understand the bigger picture with additional clarity. Let's begin by looking back at John Yu. During my initial investigations, I was approached by a number of people, but among them, a user named P0358 on Discord. P0358 opened with a fairly nondescript message. Quote, "Hey, you're this YouTuber who made that big video about Titanfall, ? End quote. To which I responded, quote, "I don't know if I'd call it big, but yeah, and I'm working on a part 2 about the Titanfall DDoSing, end quote. That was in reference to my very first coverage, which at the time didn't even have 100,000 views, I don't think, and even today stands at less than 150,000. It was not big compared to the videos that came next. This conversation rapidly escalated into a full-scale breakdown by P0358 of exactly who John Yu was, how he operated, the shared history that they held, as well as some examples of behavior and activity. There are a lot of notable things here, but I'd like everyone to remember two particular quotes. First, quote, "Strider is a pile of shit thrown together to just work. It always worked badly and was a modified code of the version meant for the older game. In Apex Legends, people would abuse Strider designed to flood and crash their parties. But Apex has more hackers and other people playing around with it. It's not John Yu." End quote. That's the important part, a definitive. It's not John Yu hacking Apex. That's the quote. Second, referencing John Yu, quote, "He never really wanted to speak to most of the people. I was the only one who talked to him here and there on some occasions, but only back in the day. He had some fetish of suffering. He kept repeating, 'You really want me to suffer, don't you?' when I refused to tell him how to crash servers." End quote. In context, this didn't really give me pause, but in hindsight, this would become extremely important. Also contained in this correspondence is a description of how John Yu became so obsessed with the game. Failed player turned hacker turned bot network enthusiast, this person had focused all their effort, according to P0358, on destroying the Titanfall games, starting with 1, then moving on to the sequel, and who knows after that. This information corroborated some of what I had been told and given by other sources, so I didn't dig any deeper with this particular person. That was a mistake. Now we have to jump through time. July 4th, 2021. John Yu, partially thanks to me, is a community figurehead for all wrongdoing, and when Apex Legends unexpectedly goes down, prominently displaying a message that reads, "Titanfall is under attack, go to SaveTitanfall.com, many people were quick to assume that this had been a false flag. Rumors began to circulate that John Yu, not SaveTitanfall.com or its admins, was likely responsible for this attack to pit communities against one another and cause further chaos. Indeed, within hours, SaveTitanfall.com had posted an official response on their masthead claiming that they had no affiliation at all with the attack, and more recently, they have posted a message reading, quote, "Beware of fake Save Titanfall social media accounts that are spreading misinformation. We do not have any social media accounts," end quote. During my preparation for this video, I had an in-depth conversation with some of the admins behind the SaveTitanfall.com domain name, and during that conversation, they had this to say. Quote, "On July 4th, a group of people hacked Apex Legends and displayed our website, SaveTitanfall.com, leaving room for interpretation that we were the ones behind the hack. This smear ended up being on purpose on their part, as we had nothing to do with the July 4th hack, and we were just as blindsided by it as the rest of the community, at least the ones who weren't in on it in the first place." End quote. Now, having established context, let's really begin. Key names to remember: John Yu, infamous Kaiser Soze-esque hacker; P0358, also a skilled hacker, capable of crashing servers, who had a rivalry of sorts with John Yu back a few years ago; and a new character, Red Shield. Red Shield is the owner of a Discord server called Remnant Fleet, and Remnant Fleet grew exponentially in terms of traffic and user base in the aftermath of the July 4th Apex Legends hack. Why? Because when the hack took place, people from all over the world unable to play Apex Legends funneled through SaveTitanfall.com, wrongly assumed to be behind the attack, and landed, eventually, in Remnant Fleet. The Discord exploded from a little over 1,000 members to something like 10,000. More importantly, in the official announcement channel, we can read things like this from P0358, who is an active administrator for the server. Quote, "I want to say that we are not the people/server behind the Apex situation and the messages you have seen directing you here, and we don't know who it is. It appears that someone did want to spread the info about Titanfall situation, and we feel them. We want to play our game again as well. Our site is probably the best source of information packed into one place, so it's probably logical that they have selected that one to link with such goals in mind. So please don't be angry at us, those who are." End quote. Remember that the server owned by Red Shield, administrated by P0358, claims no responsibility. Well, let's dive in on some evidence. Time to meet a new player, Dogecore. Dogecore is a technically skilled individual who has been closely associated and cooperatively working with P0358 and Red Shield. On July 3rd, in the Remnant Fleet Discord server, in a secret channel, he stated, quote, "Are you ready for Operation SaveTitanfall.com?" End quote. And then, never mind. This was less than 24 hours before Apex Legends would be taken offline with a SaveTitanfall.com message displayed on screen. Furthermore, Mr. Steak, another technically skilled individual working closely with Red Shield and P0358, his display name is a series of Among Us avatars, allegedly sells hacks and cheats for games such as Apex Legends. On the 30th of June, just prior to the 4th, he posted screenshots that clearly show how he had manipulated the Apex Legends client to display custom text in a nearly identical way when compared to the upcoming hack on the 4th of July. Let's recap names. Red Shield, owner of the Remnant Fleet Discord. P0358, administration for the Remnant Fleet Discord. Dogecore, technical experience, close associate, and Mr. Steak, possible cheat seller, technically adept, and working closely in tandem with the others. Okay, continuing. During February of 2021, Red Shield stated in the Remnant Fleet Discord to another user, quote, "Okay, so perhaps we don't hold Titanfall 2/Apex ransom. Instead, we do it as a publicity stunt. We lock down the servers for 48 hours to raise awareness of the issues. After that, if Respawn doesn't patch these out, they're left as a lingering threat, a promise of the game's fate for everyone to digest." End quote. That's pretty definitive in my eyes, and if not, there might be a fairly crazy explanation, but this leads me to the publicity side of things. Enter Eurogamer, a popular gaming media publication, or maybe not so popular recently. Yin Poole, a journalist for the outlet, is doing a story on the Titanfall hackers, and somehow Red Shield is being cited for quotes. In the Remnant Fleet Discord on Hidden Channels, he says the following, quote, "How much information should I reveal to Eurogamer on how Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends can be crashed?" End quote. In response, Mr. Steak, with the Among Us avatar display name again, says, quote, "Don't talk about Apex at all. You can say that there's a high possibility the same thing can happen to TF2 as well." End quote. Red Shield continues, quote, "Can I share one of the screenshots of the error message from when you tested it the other day on R2? referring to Titanfall 2, to which Mr. Stake responds, quote, "Yes, you can even share it happening to the other guy," end quote. What other guy? And then a screenshot of a Titanfall 2 streamer being knocked offline, exactly in the same way that the supposed hacker John Yu has been terrorizing Titanfall 2. After that, Red Shield says, "This is a streamer you did it to?" And Mr. Stake responds, "Yeah, was trying to find the server he was on," end quote. Just to recap, this would appear to be a group of players and administration communicating through the Remnant Fleet Discord, coordinating exactly how and when to hack Apex Legends and knock it entirely offline, impersonating SaveTitanfall.com with a false flag operation, harvesting all of the traffic to their Discord server as a result, and feeding false information to Eurogamer. But why? To answer that, we have to look at the Eurogamer article itself. The post is filled with quotes from Red Shield, feigning ignorance and feeding false information, but near the bottom, we might get a look at his real motivations. Here's the quote. "We have many extremely passionate members in this community who are very talented programmers and coders. They have in-depth knowledge and experience with the source engine and the way Titanfall's files work. We have people who would, in a heartbeat, spend money. I ask that Respawn solves the issue permanently by giving us access and control over the Titanfall 1 servers, with permission to moderate, to ban users, and, if I can be so bold, to even mod the game. Perhaps just one server? Respawn has expressed interest in the idea in the past, and all of the solutions to the exploits problem and the player retention problems we've come up with, community-run servers is the strongest." End quote. There it is. Control. That's the reason. But let's go deeper. Control for what purpose? During the investigation conducted by dedicated Titanfall 2 community members and now released to the public, I will link the SaveTitanfall.com website down below, which is where you can find all of it, there were dozens of connections found where P0358 is openly condemning Titanfall and saying that he doesn't care if it's dead because TFO will probably benefit. And remember this, he is condemning Titanfall. He doesn't care if it's dead. He doesn't care about the franchise. He actually kind of wants it dead because TFO will probably benefit. This is where I kind of have to cut down on detail for the sake of time. Really, I need to. There are hundreds of screenshots cataloging every single conversation and every single detail of this story. I have them all, as do many other community members who originally archived all of it. But in summary, P0358 is attempting to resurrect Titanfall Online, nicknamed TFO. Titanfall Online was a canceled port of the original Titanfall developed by Nexon, and working on this project with him are Red Shield, Dogecore, and Mr. Stake. Again, there is extensive evidence of all this. Quotes such as, "It will probably benefit TFO if R1, again referring to Titanfall 1, stays dead," end quote. Similar sentiment can be found everywhere. Allusions to this being the next big game by associates of P0358, cross-referenced from my own communication with him as well. And what needs to be established is that these hackers are working on resurrecting the project, but to do so, at least to do so effectively, they need more access to the Titanfall infrastructure and source code, which can only be given by Respawn. How best to get it? Well, this Medium post from P0358 might help explain that. The post has been deified in the Titanfall community as a holy grail solution to all of their problems. It details, at length, how to solve the systemic issues within TF1, TF2, and even Apex Legends, because its author has, at length, as well as his associates especially, deliberately broken all of these systems. He has expressed on social media time and time again that he wants to be hired by Respawn, and with his help, everything could be solved. Quick summary. Someone who had a rivalry with the infamous John Yu many years ago and claims to have not told him how to crash servers is directly associating with people who lied to gaming media outlets, experimented with the exact hacking techniques used on the 4th of July against Apex Legends, referenced Operation Titanfall a full 24 hours before it even happened, and discussed how they should hold Apex hostage for 48 hours in recent months. That same person is working on a ported version of Titanfall. They have expressed time and time again that they do not care if Titanfall and Titanfall 2 remain unplayable or dead in perpetuity, which requires more access. The ported version requires more access to the source code and server infrastructure than they currently have, as he proposes solutions for the very same problems that some of his associates have created, or at the very least perpetrated, in the past few months. Again, solutions for something to fix games that he openly says he doesn't care if they're alive and it probably would benefit him and his project if they were dead. Meanwhile, another of his associates makes a direct request through Eurogamer that Respawn hand over all the Titanfall servers to them, referencing many talented coders in the community. Because yes, there are. But I'm not done. On the official Titanfall subreddit, there is a moderator named Hidiconic. Hidiconic was once in a leadership position there, but quit and then returned at a later date. And now, while being a moderator, because he is still one, exists somewhat far down the list of active administration. Here's the thing. Hidiconic hates the subreddit. He hates the members, and he actively, on more than one occasion, asked P0358 or others in that circle to kill the game. What's more, he also heavily promoted, such as in pinned comments saying give the guy some upvotes, P0358's Medium article that was the proclaimed solution to everything. And these were not unpopular threads. These were garnering thousands, even tens of thousands of upvotes. The leadership and administration of Remnant Fleet, so it seems, had started to develop their own ported version of Titanfall, planning to resurrect Titanfall online. They had planned and perpetrated the Apex Legends July 4th hack, driving significant traffic to their own server. They had lied to the press in order to further advance their goals and make a request of Respawn. They knocked streamers offline to, quote, get more media attention, and they coordinated a solution to all of these problems through corrupt subreddit moderation staff who do not want to see the game succeed and rather hate Respawn passionately for their perceived failures in development of the franchise. Adding this in postscript, because there might not have been enough evidence that people have seen to showcase that they did in fact start this project, and they are in fact looking to promote it very soon, and also to showcase that TF Remnant Fleet has reached almost 10,000 members, there was a direct message exchange where P0358 said, quote, hey, by the way, I wanted to ask for one future thing. We are working on a project of community revival of Titanfall Online. There it is. Not sure if you've heard, still pretty far from completion and a long road ahead, but I wanted to ask if we could tell people in the circuit server about it after it's ready, in case they want to check it out and cover in their material if they happen to like it, etc., more like that. But confirming again that P0358 and his crew are working on reviving Titanfall Online. Also, Remnant Fleet has drastically benefited, and as recently as May 29th, 2021, he was working on promoting this project to a wider audience. Even worse, and much more personally relevant, I believe, the packet circulating, whether accurate or not, that's irrelevant, that allegedly contains the identity of the hacker known as John Yu, the packet that I also have in my possession, came from this particular group of people. It has been used now to harass the person contained within it, and that is the exact reason I refused ever to release it to the public, knowing that any slim chance of inaccurate information would be catastrophic. From what I can gather, and be warned this part is speculation, the hacker known as John Yu was responsible for the lion's share of problems with Titanfall 1, but has largely disappeared since. In his place are a network of people, a network that is apparently growing actively, who are aware of just how broken and dysfunctional the Titanfall franchise infrastructure really is. Respawn won't fix it, and they have now abused that for personal gain on multiple occasions. Meanwhile, journalists from IGN in particular are attempting to track down the identity of the hacker with repeated attempts at communication. Beat you to this one, motherfuckers. And Eurogamer was manipulated and lied to as they helped amplify a message from the very same group of people who seemingly took down Apex Legends, again, for personal gain. There is so much more I could go over. Intricate connections that detail exactly how it became clear that the user asking for them to destroy the game was the Reddit moderator. Threads from my own private messages with some of these people, which cast doubt over the idea that John Yu is some singularly responsible avatar of destruction who has laid bare the entire franchise, or even how long in the past, a long time ago, John Yu posted in the community impersonating P0358, impersonating in air quotes there, saying, if you want the hacks to end, here is my PayPal, or something to that effect. And now in the Medium post, most recently, solving all of their problems, P0358 has linked his PayPal at the bottom. Was this really an impersonation or a prior attempt at financial gain ultimately staved off because he denied responsibility and said it was just an impersonating factor and it was the bad actor John Yu? The community is really being torn apart by hackers. That much is true from all of my coverage, just not in the way I initially thought. Now, let's make something exceptionally clear because this is actually very, very important. The community investigation was and is being published independent from me. I have synchronized my video to it and had conversations, many conversations with a lot of those involved, but that is not to say I am the arbiter of truth in the situation. I am very happy to chat with Red Shield, Mr. Steak, P0358, though it seems like he's on vacation according to his social media at the moment, and any others involved, because the more I learn, the more I see a situation that is not just interesting, It is enthralling. I don't want to tell all sides of that story. Respawn, as an entity, as a development studio, is well aware of all this and has been for a number of days. What they will do, I have no idea. Will they do anything at all? Again, no idea. It seems they have successfully started to remedy at least some of the lingering issues in the franchise, which is great news, but that story remains to be told. Today, I want to showcase the Titanfall Online conspiracy and examine what appears to be a self-serving ring of hackers responsible for the breach of Apex Legends and manipulating everyone around them along the way. That's it. Again, sources are all linked down below in the description, as well as a sort of disclaimer, if you will. If you want support, there's other links too. Odyssey, which is a YouTube platform alternative. Locals, $5 a month for completely ad-free versions of all the content, and it allows me to just keep producing videos like this. Another gaming YouTuber to check out, merch, social media, etc., but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.